the wholeness, because that is everything, and that is your Father. That is consciousness. Blaspheme against the Father, the idea of the Father. Blaspheme against the Son, the idea of the Son. Don't you dare blaspheme the wholeness, because that is everything, and that is your Father. That is consciousness. Stressed out? Time to read. Saying 45, Jesus said, grapes aren't harvested from thorns, nor figs gathered from thistles, because they don't produce fruit. A person who's good brings good things out of their treasure. A person who's evil brings evil things out of their evil treasure. Evil brings evil things out of their evil treasure. They say evil things because their heart is full of evil. And what this is a reminder not to let your mind fall into evil patterns of separation, of self and other. Don't let your mind fall into, oh, that person is XYZ, or that belief system is 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. There is no separation. The reality is you are the one thing, and that person over there, Grandma used to say it, by the grace of God, there go I. That is simply another person having another experience based on their geological birthplace, their cultural system that they grew up in, their belief system they were handed, their socioeconomic status that they fell into. That is me. You are me, with a different set of experiences. Who am I to judge you? Don't fall into the trap of your XYZ evil thoughts. I don't like you if you're not like me, which is what most of Christianity preaches, by the way.
Yep, it sure does.
Most of all religions preach.
They look on the outer appearance.
You're not like me, you're wrong.
I've witnessed it many times.
Don't fall into those thoughts. Have positive thoughts. That person laying in the gutter peeing on themselves needs my help. I don't pity them and walk by them and say, thank God that's not me. You reach out a hand. You give them assistance like it's you, because it is you. And you don't envy the mega rich who are chasing money and items and wealth and not truly happy. Because that's a trap.
Yep.
Jesus talks about a bunch of situations where the wealthy are the ones who are impoverished, who have the greatest understanding. Give away your stuff. There's sayings coming up here in the Gospel of Thomas about that. Don't fall into the pattern of self and other. Everything is you. All of it's you. Treat people like that, and we'll have a much better place in this world to live. Saying 46, Jesus said, from Adam to John the Baptizer, no one's been born who's so much greater than John the Baptizer, they shouldn't avert their eyes. But I say that whoever among you will become a little child and will know the kingdom and be greater than John. So what he's saying there is, man, here's the pinnacle. John's amazing. But guess what? If you discover the kingdom, you're going to be better than John. Right? And what he's doing there is appeasing the human mind of relativity, of being able to put something against something else and compare it, etc. Because he knows, I mean, if you go to some foreign land, you got to be able to speak their language before they can understand you. And what he's talking about there is the separation of self and other, and he's talking about the relevance of relativity. He's saying, John's amazing. You find the kingdom, you'll be even more amazing. Because that's what it's all about. Saying 47, Jesus said, it is not possible for anyone to mount 2 horses or stretch 2 bows, and it's not possible for a servant to follow 2 leaders because they'll respect one and despise the other. No one drinks old wine and immediately wants to drink new wine. And new wine isn't put in old wineskins because they burst, nor is old wine put in new wineskins because it spoil. A new patch of cloth isn't sewn into an old coat because it'd tear apart. And what he's talking about here is the dichotomy of the old religious understandings and the understanding you will have when you discover the truth within. You can't mix the two. You can't have the experience of a consciousness expansion experience and then try to fit it within an old system. You can't try to take a truth that is handed to you by God because you become a portion of God's existence and you understand the whole thing and you experience the whole thing, and then try to fit it into an old understanding that was created by man based on a bunch of untruths. You need to separate the two and let them be separate. Trust the one that comes from within you. Saying 48, Jesus said, if 2 make peace with each other in a single house, they'll say to the mountain, go away, and it will.
For me, came at a time that was really pivotal. Becoming a new father, I needed more.
And what he's talking about is if you start to identify that there is no separation between self and other, and 2 separate people make peace with each other in a single house, they'll say to the mountain, go away, and it will. And that is talking about the power that is opened up to a mind that is expanded out into infinity, where you start to be able to control consciousness in a way that you couldn't before, and you can literally start to manipulate matter. This is a very advanced teaching. We will not go into this here, but that is exactly what he's talking about. He's saying when you tell that mountain to move, it will, based on your level of mastery. And that's all I'm going to say there.
Based on your faith.
You can call me crazy if you like. I projected into somebody's mind last week. Jesus said, blessed are those who are one, those who are chosen, because you find the kingdom of heaven. You'll come from there and you'll return there. Blessed are those who are one. That's pretty easy to understand at this point from all of these other sayings that we've been talking about.
He was talking about
Even
astral
in the
projection
context
a
of
few minutes
understanding
ago.
there is no self and other. Blessed are those who are one. Pretty simple. Saying 50, Jesus said, if they ask you, where do you come from? Tell them. We've come from the light, the place where the light came into being by itself, established itself. It appeared in their image. If they ask you, is it you? Then say, we are its children, and we are chosen by our living Father. If they ask you, what's the sign of your Father in you? Then say, it's movement and rest. And this is right out of quantum mechanics. Superposition. It is movement and it is rest. And they both exist in the same moment until the wave function is collapsed. And this might be a little advanced for some of you to understand if you don't understand a little bit about quantum mechanics. No one really understands everything about quantum mechanics. In fact, Richard Feynman said if you understand quantum mechanics, then you obviously don't know what quantum mechanics is all about. You don't understand quantum mechanics because nobody can really understand it. Except if you experience it, you get a little bit better of an insight. And Jesus, of course, experienced quantum mechanics, and other people can too. And that's why the grandfathers of quantum mechanics are typically the mystics who experienced it before being able to understand it and put the math to the magic. They're all in the camp of consciousness collapses and wave functions. And that's what he's talking about there. He's talking about being one with everything, being a portion of everything, being part of the light. And when they say, what's the sign of your Father within you? Well, it's movement and it's rest at the same time. Saying 51, his disciples said to him, when will the dead have rest, and when will the new world come? He said to them, what you're looking for has already come, but you don't know it. And this goes to the illusion of time. that time doesn't really exist. That everything happens simultaneously in the universe. It's all happening, past, present, and future, all happening now. There is no separation of time. Time is a measurement of the rate of change within classical physics. It's a rate of change that slows based on the energy level of the field. So you get near a black hole, and the rate of change slows down because the energy states must resist a higher level of energy within the fields itself to be able to change, and so thus time seemingly passes slower, where away from a high field of energy it passes much more quickly, and multiple generations die as you're taking a bite of an apple next to a black hole. Right? Same type of weird freakiness happens in consciousness that is independent of time, and that's exactly what he's talking about here. He said, when will the dead have rest, and when will the new world come? He said, well, what you're already talking about has already happened. You just don't even know it. That's what he's talking about there. Saying 52, his disciples said to him, 24 prophets have spoken in Israel, and they all spoke of you. He said to them, you ignored the living one right in front of you, and you're talking about those who are dead. Again, these folks have already passed away. You're talking about listening to folks who are already freaking dead. You don't even know they're dead. And you're not listening to me? What are you, stupid? Saying 53. His disciples said to him, is circumcision useful or not? He said to them, if it were useful, parents would have children who were born circumcised, but the true circumcision in spirit has become profitable in every way. So what he's saying is it's kind of a poking fun at his own culture, saying, well, circumcision isn't useful because if it was useful, we'd come out circumcised. And but the thing you need to pay attention to is the circumcision of your mind, circumcision of your spirit, based on all the crap that you've been handed to believe that is now in your way of understanding the truth and experiencing the truth.
Yep.
Which is what he's talking about there. Saying 54. Jesus said, blessed are those who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of heaven.
We're Tincher Williams, your local Chevrolet GMC dealer.
Get financing.
Blessed are those that are poor in spirit, for the...
And no payments for 90 days on 2024.
I hate commercials. Blessed are those that are poor in spirit, for
and Plato
those of the
said,
kingdom of heaven.
Those with the fewest possessions are nearest to the gods. Said something similar. But basically, if you have fewer attachments, by having fewer things, yours is the kingdom of heaven. You have less that'll stand in your way of being whole, being the truth of existence, because you have fewer things that weigh you down in mind and in possession. It's saying 55. Jesus said, whoever doesn't hate their father and mother can't become my disciple. And whoever doesn't hate their brothers and sisters and take up their cross like I do isn't worthy of me. And this is exactly what he's talking about when he's talking about attachments of mind. Because the ideas that he is attacking here, in that culture, in that time in history, are sacred. Your father and mother should be respected. Your family is all you have. They're everything. They're the only people who will come to your defense if the world comes at you. You respect your parents and what they say. You respect what they tell you to do. But what he's saying is, you gotta throw everything out the window. You gotta understand that there is nothing in your mind that you are attached to that will lead you to truth. Whoever doesn't hate their father or mother can't become my disciple. You have to throw out all ideas of everything. All attachments of mind need to be jettisoned for you to be able to look within and see this whole 3D space-time as illusion. And when you understand that, when you experience that, then you're entering the kingdom of heaven, kingdom of the Father. Saying 56, Jesus said, whoever has known the world has found a corpse, and whoever has found a corpse of them, the world isn't worthy. Again, impermanence, the fallacy of time. The world already doesn't exist. You're in it right at this moment. You're in this 3D space-time, you're in this body experiencing this moment of consciousness because this is all you can consume with this one glimpse of eternity. The reality is the earth has already passed away. And when you see the earth as impermanent, when you see the earth as already gone, of you the world is not worthy. You have awakened, you have seen the truth. And so what in the world can then sway you and ruin your day? This whole place doesn't exist and is an illusion, has already passed away. Nothing. Nothing can knock you off even keel. And you can love everyone and everything in this moment. Saying 57, Jesus said, "My Father's kingdom can be compared to someone who had a good seed. Their enemy came by night and sowed weeds among the good seed. The person didn't let anyone pull out the weeds so that you don't pull out the wheat along with the weeds," they said to him. "On the day of the harvest, the weeds will be obvious. They were pulled out and burned." So, the truth is going to be the truth. It doesn't matter what everybody else comes along and tries to distract you with and say, etc. Don't believe it, because in the end, the truth is the only thing that's going to be left. That's what the kingdom of the Father is like. And that's what I think he was saying there. Saying 58, Jesus said, "Blessed is the person who's gone to a lot of trouble. They've found life." And it's not easy. The process of enlightenment isn't easy.
No.
I'll tell you that. It's the
No,
most
it's
difficult
not.
thing on the planet. It's the most difficult thing in existence sometimes. To be able to get beyond your attachments of mind, your patterns of mind, your distractions, to be able to get to that place of non-thinking, of complete quietude, where the patterns that have distracted you reduce. It's one of the most difficult things in Zen Buddhism, to get to that point of complete quietude where your mind is silent to the point that different patterns can then arise, your consciousness expands out, and you experience enlightenment. It's impossible. Not impossible. Very difficult. Almost impossible to do it naturally. Psychedelics can give you a glimpse. It doesn't give you the whole thing. And I've done all of the most potent psychedelics in comparison to the natural process that I originally experienced, so I can speak from experience on that. They're a tool. Don't get caught up, and don't believe they're the end-all be-all. Blessed is the person who's gone to a lot of trouble. They've found life. That's exactly what he's talking about there. Saying 59, Jesus said, "Look for the living one while you're still alive. If you die and then you try to look for him, you won't be able to." And that's because we're in a very unique position of being able to expand our consciousness out from our human existence. This has a lot of complexity to it, connected with the differences between human and extraterrestrial consciousness, intelligence, etc. A lot of things that we don't necessarily need to get into, but it is much easier to find enlightenment as a living human being than when you're off in the field and you can't necessarily gain access to the whole thing, and you're this data structure within the subset of the whole. Very complex to discuss, and putting more words to it simply races us away from the truth at light speed, so I will stop talking, get to the next saying.
It's me, your future you.
You make bad money moves.
So you work at 102.
You're late.
Don't fake your future you. Hey, you.
Compare and find top financial products today. NerdWallet.
The number one mistake made by cholesterol and blood pressure drug takers. I'm Dr. Living Good, and I'm breaking down the shocking truths that Big Pharma does not want you to know about those cholesterol meds you're taking, getting clarity on your numbers, the blood pressure drugs that they have you on, that you can be doing simple natural methods to lower your blood pressure without any of the drugs, and how to avoid heart attacks and strokes. But today I'm going to teach you on the biggest mistake that I see after taking care of 25,000 people that they're making if you're on a blood pressure or cholesterol drug. Behind me is the health scale. Most of you judge it on how you look or how you feel. Health doesn't have anything to do with those things, says the World Health Organization. What it is how well you function. 100% function, designed and working the way your body is supposed to work, is where health comes from. 0% function, that's death. Let's avoid that at all costs for all of you. Every one of you listening is somewhere in between. Now, if you have blood pressure or cholesterol issues, what the research shows is you don't even know that issue shows up. You can't feel your blood pressure problem, your cholesterol problem, or some kind of kidney issue until you get on average to 60%. That's where blood pressure, cholesterol, and these stroke-like symptoms or anything other than anything like that show up. So you don't feel it till you get down there, so you can
Saying 60. They saw a Samaritan carrying a lamb to Judea. He said to his disciples, "What do you think he's going to do with that lamb?" They said to him, "He's going to kill it and eat it." He said to them, "While it's living, he won't eat it, but only after he kills it, it becomes a corpse." They said, "He can't do it any other way." He said to them, "You too look for a resting place so that you won't become a corpse and be eaten." And that has to do with taking a break and meditating. Finding that resting place so that you don't become a corpse and be consumed, so that you can then find the truth within you. That's a reminder. One of the basic fundamental tenets of Jesus' message was take time to meditate. It's what Eastern Orthodox Christianity is all about. Meditate, 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 meditate. Shut your mind down. Find that place of quietude within yourself that you can discover the truth